How is everybody doing? Hope you're well. We're going to talk about Reckless. This was Bryan Adams' big breakthrough in 1984. But the question I have is this. Is this the best rock album of the 80s? Okay. Or you got things like Def Leppard, Hysteria. That's a pretty big one. It's ear candy, very easy to listen to. But Bryan Adams isn't, we'll say, theatrical. He's a songwriter that writes rock songs. He's quite heavy. Like, the sound is quite heavy. You know, he was going for a loud sound. He's actually heavier than some metal bands. So guess that he is up there with the rockers and the rollers. But what makes this album so damn good? Well, first of all, I would say that number one, the production. The production is fantastic. It really sounds good, and it doesn't really sound dated for an album that's 40 years old now, because there's not a lot of synthesizers on it. There's keyboards, but they're kind of done in a Tom Petty way, where you've got Rhodes or Hammond and stuff like that. Sorry. So the thing is, the production is great, and then of course you've got the songs, and the songs are fantastic. The hit singles from this album are fantastic, and we're going to go through it now, and we're going to examine it, and we're going to ask the question: is it the best rock album of the 80s? Because it comes damn close. And I mean, you know, you could go on and say things like, oh, the Joshua Tree, but that rock as in loud drums, guitars that are distorted with nice solos, clean chorus picking, without wearing spandex and lycra. Bryan Adams was dressed in a leather jacket or a denim jacket, cowboy boots, jeans, you know, pretty normal looking really. He's Canadian, by the way, in case you didn't know. But this album, it's just that he had 3 or 4 albums before this, and you know, they were kind of trying to tickle the AOR stations and all that kind of stuff, and the FM. But Reckless, it just hits the spot, because it's produced by Bryan Adams and Bob Clearmountain, and like, Clearmountain was kind of the guy who was the go-to for a nice clean mix. It's assisted by Mike Fraser, Bruce Lamkoff, Michael Sauvage, and an associated producer, Jim Valance. He wrote songs with Bryan. And then it was mastered, of course, by Bob Ludwig at Masterdisc, and it sounds fantastic. You know, this is a nice mint copy, actually, I picked up. I had a tattered one. It had no inner sleeve, so I got rid of it. But album kicks off with One Night Love Affair. Massive drums. Again, you know, the kind of clean chorus-laden guitar from Keith Scott. Keith Scott, absolutely fantastic guitar player, one of the underrated guitarists. Just has all the right things in the right place. One Night Love Affair is obviously about a one-night stand and stuff like that. It's got all the things that make up, you know, classic AOR. Feel good. It's a fantastic album for driving to as well. Then we move on to track 2, She's Only Happy When She's Dancing. Now, that's a little bit like the stuff on his earlier albums. It's a little bit throwaway. To me, it reminds me of the Rolling Stones. It's almost like a Keith Richards song. It's like something from Tattoo You. You know, one of the weaker tracks on Tattoo You. I kind of tolerate it. It's a pity, because what comes next is Run to You, and Run to You is absolutely, I mean, the chorus guitar on the intro, the kind of wailing lead guitar, and then you got the clicking, you know, the rim shots and the hi-hat ticking, and then boom, into this big build up to the chorus, and of course you got the calm down in the place with the guitar solo. Run to You is probably one of the best rock songs of all time. And of course then Heaven, the ballad, Again, it's got all the right guitars in the right place, almost kind of a Brian May style in some ways. You can hear overlapping harmonies and stuff like that on the guitars. That would have been a song for slow dancers in the 80s, and of course then it kicks off into the last track on side one, Somebody. That's a kind of a stadium rocker. I could imagine the whole crowd chanting to that, and it could, you could imagine a 10-minute version. I don't know what Bryan Adams was like live back then. Actually, I hated Bryan Adams in the 80s. I have to admit it. I absolutely hated him. I thought, oh no, you know what I mean? I just, but I don't know why. I never liked him. I never liked the Robin Hood song. And he's a fine singer. I just don't know what it was about him. I thought it was just kind of, and I was into Led Zeppelin and Queen, and I listened to all kinds of stuff, but I don't know what it was. I just didn't like Bryan Adams, and about 20 years ago, I picked this up. I picked it up in a secondhand record shop for 50p or something. I can't remember, and I listened to it. And then I copied it for the car, and I just absolutely could not stop listening to it. I loved it. And of course, side 2 kicks off, Summer of '69. That's a showcase in writing a perfect pop single, rock single that echoes back to your youth when you were trying to start a band. And then, of course, you never got anywhere, and you had got a job, you got married, you had kids, looking back on your lost passion. Kids Wanna Rock, that's another big anthem. Kind of macho. I could imagine some band like Def Leppard actually singing that kind of thing. It's Only Love. That's a duet with Tina Turner, and it's got a fantastic riff on it. And Tina Turner herself had a big comeback in 1984 as well with Private Dancer, which was her big comeback after a doldrum, or a decade in the doldrums. Then we got Long Gone. And that's okay, it kind of it's not too bad, it kind of tails out a bit. I mean, the hits on the album, Wanted Love Affair, Run to You, Heaven, Somebody. I mean, that's a solid side, apart from She's Only Happy. It's a bit of light relief on because if there was another cracker here, it would be just probably the best album of all time. Summer '69, Kids Wanna Rock, It's Only Love, Long Gone. Then Ain't Gonna Cry. Kind of tails out a little bit, but saying that, it's still fantastic. Get the lyrics on the inside. I think it was recorded. I read something on Sound on Sound about the recording, I think of, was it Run to You or Summer of '69? I can't remember. I think there's the Armory in Vancouver or something like that, and it explains that there was a service area off the studio, and the engineer opened the door. It was where they parked trucks and stuff, bringing in and out gear. It was kind of a big corridor, and they actually used that. They mic'd up the corridor, and the drums bled into it, and that's where you get these big drum sounds. The sounds on this are fantastic, they really are. I will say that. Does it even say where it's doesn't even say where it's recorded, does it? I'm not sure. I always thought it did. Right. It says here now, Lou Graham appears courtesy of Atlantic. That's the guy from Foreigner. And then Tina Turner, of course, Capitol, and then Steve Smith. I wonder what Lou Graham played on this. Yeah, that's something I didn't notice before. But yeah, the band, Bryan Adams, Jimmy Valance, he was a co-writer with Adams, I think, for a lot of the stuff. They wrote the follow-up to this in 1987, Heat of the Night. That was a bit of a disappointment. It's not a bad album, but it's nowhere near this. And then they kind of fell out for a while. Keith Scott, guitar, fantastic. David Taylor and Pat Stewart. But yeah, it's a good album. I'm after repeating myself now about 100 times. But yeah. And it's the A&M logo. So yeah, tell me what you think below. some of you know are going to say that. Are you kidding me? How could it be the best album? But I think it's one of those ear candy records. You know, it makes you happy. I love listening for the next track. One I Love Affair. I mean, that's fantastic. You know, you gotta like it. So there you go. That's my question. Is Reckless one of the best rock albums of the 80s? I think it is. And it's actually 40 this year. There might be an anniversary. This is the compact disc. And there's also an anniversary edition, I think, with live stuff. I'm not sure, but that's just your bog standard A&M. Yeah, but there you go. That's it. There's nothing extra on this or anything. So that's it. Bryan Adams, what do you think? Do you love him? Do you hate him? I hated him, but I've been listening to this for the last 20 years and it's one of my favorites. So there you go. Anything is possible. So thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.